It's come to my attention there's a new Jeepers Creepers movie coming out this year, and I wanted to contribute to the hype for its release because I don't think there is any, and there should be. Me and Jeepers go way back. I was too young to see the first two movies on their release, but I did get to experience them circa the end of public school. Me and a friend were horror movie fiends, and we watched everything we could get our hands on. One such movie was Jeepers Creepers 2001, which we absolutely fell in love with. We literally sat next to each other in school and hummed the Jeepers Creepers song to each other like a little inside joke. Time passed, memories faded, and it wasn't until hearing about the new Jeepers Creepers movie coming out in 2021 that I thought, hey, let's have a movie marathon of Jeepers to get up to speed, and also see if it was actually as good as I remembered. And boy, was it. Jeepers Creepers is an absolute gem. Maybe it's the nostalgia blinding me, but there's something just so unique about Jeepers Creepers. I think Jeepers didn't become as big of a household name as other serial killers like Chucky or Jason or Freddy because he was too big for the box that viewers want to comfortably put him in to understand him. Jeepers is an entity that is undefined. You don't know exactly what he is or exactly how all the characteristics that define him came into this one badass murderous amalgamation, and that's what I love about him. Sometimes it's fun just not knowing. I don't know how to explain to you all that Jeepers Creepers is. On the surface, he's characterized as a mute, fairly large humanoid with black, wrinkly skin and a trench coat. On the second layer, he's almost sci-fi with his, let's say, extraterrestrial-like appendages, ability to heal, and super strength. On the layer under that, there's this inherent supernatural element to how he controls his weapons, which happens to include a rusty old sentient truck, and how his existence is based on a 23-year feeding cycle. He's a lot, but somehow it works. It's just the right mix of different intriguing elements with no proper explanation to keep you guessing. And despite being a mute, Jeepers has such a personality. He's a great cross between Jason or Michael Myers, who are always coming for their victim no matter what, and also Chucky or Freddy with the way that he chooses to toy with his victims. Jeepers doesn't give a fuck. He's like a sassy mute monster bounty hunter. Despite all of the vague specifics I mentioned that Creepers is in the flesh, the concept behind what makes him scary and why he's a relentless serial killer is absolutely classic. He chooses his victims based on the scent of their fear, and that tells him exactly what part of you he wants to take. He might be one ugly motherfucker, but he's also my bae. And before anyone comments on the chibi Jeepers that I'm drawing here on the screen, yes, I did whitewash him for the sake of putting him on a black background so you can see his white hair. His face is literally composed of the light that reflects off of the wrinkles of his face, and that doesn't translate well to a cartoon. When I watch the new Jeepers Creepers movie, I promise I will draw him a portrait in all his pitch black, lumpy glory. Now, let's talk about the existing Jeepers Creepers movies. If telling you the main actor in Jeepers Creepers 2001 is Justin Long doesn't convince you of the quality, weird, and amazing movie you're in for, then I don't know what will. The first Jeepers Creepers movie displays all the aspects of Jeepers Creepers I described previously, from a general creepiness to the sci-fi, and still manages to introduce that jumble of characteristics in an engaging, consistent narrative. It's so fun watching Jeepers progress in the narrative from an urban legend to a reality. From a serial killer human to a demon to something else entirely. The first Jeepers Creepers isn't perfect, but it's such a fun ride, it's hard to care, and I highly respect it for the time that it came out in. To hit that mark of serious acting, mystery, and still mix in silly OP killer shenanigans. Jeepers Creepers toes the line and lands somehow just above an enjoyably bad horror movie because it is actually also just genuinely enjoyable despite its ridiculous or cliche events. 4 out of 5 stars. Jeepers Creepers 2 from 2003 did, in my opinion, exactly the right thing in isolating the narrative space. The sibling main characters of Jeepers Creepers 1 traveled a lot, and if you weren't paying attention, you'd miss why they're visiting a crazy old cat lady on the outskirts of town instead of just booking it back home. As I said, Jeepers Creepers has so many aspects. The second movie did the right thing in giving him less space to occupy. He has a captive collection of victims, and the question is what he's going to do, not whether he's going to do it. The inevitability of Jeepers getting his target turns his unpredictable force into something more digestible. We get to sit back and play the which character's gonna die first game, which is personally my favorite horror movie game. It also gets to highlight and enforce Jeepers as a force of nature. Spoilers for the next 15 seconds or so for Jeepers Creepers 2. My absolute favorite scene is in the field after he's been mangled, missing limbs, and for 1 second, the characters think, It's over until he starts leaping across the field with one arm and one leg. I don't know, I just love it for its hilarity, but also it's refreshing. Jeepers Creepers isn't demeaned by this funny situation, it almost makes him more scary. He doesn't always have to be a badass, but he will get his target. You gotta respect the man's dedication. The second movie had some plot holes, but as a sequel to a perfectly memeable horror movie, I forgive it and it gets a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I didn't know there was a new third Jeepers Creepers movie in 2017 because, like I said, Jeepers Creepers needs more hype, so I missed it on release and just watched it before making this video. I was pretty skeptical and scared it wouldn't hold up to its predecessors, but it was okay. It was more of a mediocre horror movie in the parts about the human characters, trying to contextualize Jeepers and his effect on the people of the area he hunts in, but I feel that would have been more impactful if the deadline for his arrival weren't 2 decades apart. Regardless, I respect them for trying to rein in the mystery and elements of Jeepers as a lore that shaped a community like the first movie attempted. In fact, the third movie, despite its lack of character of its predecessors, pleasantly surprised me by bringing in so many elements from them as it could. I was worried Jeepers' sentient truck that was absent from the second movie would just be gone forever, and I was overjoyed when the third movie opened with it. Despite losing a bit of the old movie's glory to modern horror formula, Jeepers Creepers 3 still manages to elate me every time Jeepers is on the screen, and keep his brutality, sass, and lore intact. Jeepers Creepers 3 gets a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm giddy with nostalgia for the next Jeepers Creepers movie coming out this year. If you're interested in watching the Jeepers Creepers movies, I highly recommend it because this one coming out is primed to be a proper continuation of them all. The events in the movies chronologically go from the first to the third to the second, so the last two were more or less companion movies. They both end in the same place, so we know that we're not only getting Jeepers on his next resurrection cycle, but the people we met and survived the prior movies are also ready for it. I'm so excited. So tell me, have you heard of Jeepers Creepers before? If so, where does he sit on your serial killer tier list? Does he even apply for consideration on one? And for the love of all that's creepy, share with me how excited you are for the new movie coming out. I need to convert people into Jeepers stans.